Hello and welcome to Waupun Pioneer News interview of Mayor Rohn Bishop about his recent trip to Washington, D.C. We're live here at Mayor Bishop's house, his back deck here. It's such a beautiful day outside, so we figured we'd take the interview out here. So if there's any noise from passerbys or cars, that's why. So, thanks.
Or the cat.
Yeah, or the cat. We got Mr. Smith here too. So
what brings you by, Jake?
I was supposed to ask that. Mayor Bishop, last week you took a trip to Washington, D.C. to lobby politicians about Waupun and tried to help Waupun standing in the national scale. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what exactly you were doing in D.C.?
We were out there for part of the APPA National Rally, which is the American Public Power Association. And I went out as a member of WPPI, which is the Wisconsin Public Power Incorporated, and MEUW, which is the Municipal Electrical Utilities of Wisconsin group. Waupun Utilities is owned by we, the community of Waupun. We are a publicly owned utility company. We have been since like the 1920s. And nowadays, it's almost impossible to become a publicly owned municipal utility, and it's something that's really cool. It allows us to give better than usual rates to our customers because we are not part of an investor-owned for-profit utility company. We are a not-for-profit, and then whatever money we make goes back into the community, and it's something that's unique and special to Waupun. I think there's 52 or 57 communities within Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, and the UP that are members of WPPI, and it's kind of a unique thing, and it's another thing Waupun can be really proud of, and it makes us a really cool community. And so the trip was coming up, and I was asked to participate, and I was happy to do so. And I got to lobby our congressmen and both of our U.S. senators on the importance of public power and the issues that we're facing, which a lot of it, excuse me, is supply chain. That's happening everywhere. But when it comes to energy production, like we're getting more and more electric vehicles, more stuff's going to be electric for environmental reasons, but then you need to have more more power supply. And so we're going to need more energy. We're going to need more sources of energy, whether that be nuclear, coal, power, wind, solar, whatever it is. We're going to need to produce more. But we also have to get the power from the source to here. So an example I like to talk about is when I visited the WPPI headquarters in Sun Prairie, there's this big screen, and I could see where all the electricity is being produced that we buy from. Some of it's from Point Beach Nuclear. There's coal fire in Oak Creek. There's natural gas in Fond du Lac and Green Bay. And there's this massive wind farm out in I think it's the Dakotas. Could have been Nebraska. But what happens is it produces so much electricity, but the government regulators won't let us put in the high transmission lines from there to here. So the power has nowhere to go and it gets wasted. And if we're going to have more EVs, more electric lawnmowers and snow blowers, the current system, the supply, and the electrical grid just aren't strong enough to handle it all. So that's what I went out there to do, is to pitch Congress to tweak some regulations and help us produce more energy so that we can get fast and reliable electricity to our customers. So here in Waupun, we live in the 6th Congressional District of Wisconsin, as you would know, because you worked for Glenn.
Yep.
And we are the #1 manufacturing congressional district in the entire country. And the second biggest expense for manufacturers is energy. It's employees and then energy. Cheap, reliable energy is the key to a strong economy, and that's what I went out there to pitch them on. And people have asked me, did you make any ground? And I don't know if we made ground, but we did no harm, and we got the word out. And I can say both of our U.S. Senators, Johnson and Baldwin, and Congressman Grothman, were very receptive, very kind, and it was a chance to brag about Waupun, and I loved every minute of it. Did I talk too much?
No, not at all.
Good.
That was perfect. So
is that the end of the interview then?
No, not at all. I actually had a couple more questions.
Okay, cool.
I did see a lot of your Facebook posts. You post a lot of places you went to and a lot of people you talked to. I saw that you went to the Lincoln Memorial. Why don't you talk about what other places you've been to?
Well, the Lincoln Memorial was cool. Like, I'd been there before, kind of forgot how massive it is and what a cemetery feeling it is. Like, there's signs that ask you to be quiet and respectful. There's flowers. There's some people who are emotional and crying a little bit. there was a group of African Americans there that were really moved by the sculpture. And then to the left, you've got his Gettysburg Address, and then to the right, you've got his second inaugural. And like the Gettysburg Address is probably the most famous speech in American history, but it's the second inaugural is worth reading. It's really cool. Then we went to Arlington Cemetery, and that was really neat. And I found Robert Todd Lincoln's grave, and because I'm a nerd, I wanted to, and I found William Howard Taft's tomb. He's the only man to be both president and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. My cool story from the whole trip is on the Tuesday when we met with Glenn Grothman. Our group broke up and we left, and I'd not been in the U.S. Capitol before, so I wasn't in a hurry to leave, so I was kind of in the back looking around, and Glenn was in a committee room for a hearing. So I asked if I could go in there, and a guy said it was open to the public, and then I asked if I could say hi to Glenn, and I was introduced. The guy brought me up and said, Congressman Grothman, there's someone here to see you. He said, it's the mayor of Waupun. But with Glenn, I ended up getting my picture taken with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jim Jordan, met several members of Congress, and then Glenn took me, Steve Brooks from Waupun Utilities, and Tim Henrik from MEUW, and he got us to the Capitol complex, got us past security, because we were his staff. We got to go in a special side entrance of the Capitol, take the members-only elevator to the second floor. We saw Glenn cast a vote, and then he came back, and the congressman got us back on the elevator, took us to the third floor, where we had to check with security, and we got to spend about an hour in the House chamber. We saw Lauren Boebert, Tom Tiffany, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Nancy Pelosi. Well, there were several. Like, we almost got our picture taken with AOC, and even Nancy Pelosi, we were pretty close to her. And Glenn Grothman had said, partisanship aside, she's a really nice person. And that was the one thing I noticed. Like, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a very polarizing and controversial person, but to me, she was nothing more than a very, very nice person. And I got to brag up Waupun, and it was cool. And we got to see President Biden come in on Marine One and land on the White House lawn. So there was, for 4 days out there with very little sleep, I had a blast, and it was fun to promote Waupun and Waupun Utilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Who else went with you to D.C. from Waupun?
From Waupun, it was just Steve Brooks from Waupun Utilities. Okay. Him and I were representing Waupun. There was a contingency of probably 20-ish people from Wisconsin, maybe more than that. They were either representatives of their local electric utility, and there were mayors. I think there were 4 other mayors out there. And the congressmen really like to hear from the mayors, because they're like, we get it. You are responsible to your constituents. You're dealing with stuff live as it happens. So they were really good about that. And then we were with a larger group. So like at the hotel, we had a welcoming banquet, and there were people from public utilities all across the country. I met people from Illinois, Colorado. It was a really neat thing. It was a cool networking thing, and it was just nice to meet with other communities from Wisconsin who are in the same situation as we are, and how we can make things better.
Absolutely. It's a really interesting story.
And it was sunny and 60 degrees every day. Like, I loved it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the weather must be much better there than it is here right now. Of course, today it's a beautiful day.
It's beautiful out here.
It's
this is why we're not in the mayor's office.
Yep.
Because when you called, the last thing I wanted to do was go inside today.
Yeah, probably. I was wearing my winter coat, and I came up to the yard. I'm like, it's too hot to wear a winter coat now, and I'm standing in the sun right now to my back. It's quite sunny out today as well.
Yes, so let's wrap this up, because I'd like to have a cold beer.
Oh, yeah.
What else is on your mind?
That was pretty much it. Do you have anything else you wanted to share?
No, I'm glad you stopped by. I'm glad I could talk about it, and I hope people of Waupun appreciate, that Steve and I went out there to advocate for Waupun and Waupun Utilities, and help try to keep energy rates as affordable as possible, as reliable as possible, and to help keep Waupun a great place to live, work, and play. That would be what I have to say about it, and I'm glad you stopped by. Absolutely. Well, thank you again for taking the time to talk to me. It's always very interesting to have this interview, and I think people will be very interested in hearing this. And we'll have to do something come mid-April, because I'll be my 1 year in office, so we'll do like a State of the City update or something. Yeah, that'll be a very interesting time. I wonder what we'll have to talk about with the city council elections coming up as well. We'll have to see that too. Yeah. So, so for everyone watching, thank you for taking the time to watch this and hearing from the mayor. It's always very interesting to have these kinds of interviews. So, And can I add, Jaden?
Yeah.
I hear from a lot of people who really appreciate what you're doing with the Waupun Pioneer News because the Leader News went away. The local radio station doesn't have someone here all the time like they used to, and it's hard to know what's going on. And people get up on Saturday morning, and I think they log on to Facebook to go to your site to read the mayor's column. I think more people read it on your site than the city website. And I know people tell me they read what you're doing, they like what you're doing, and I think it's cool. So keep it up.
Yeah, so thank you for those words, Mayor. It's always very interesting, great to hear from people. It's almost like I can't go anywhere these days without someone saying,
You're a celebrity.
Yeah. But yeah, it is very interesting. I'm happy to do this. It's a very fun thing. So, but
Next time you can interview the First Lady. She's more interesting.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, thank you again. It's always very interesting. So thanks again for everyone watching. So have a nice rest of your day.
Thanks, Jaden.